Okay, the first keynote speech we'll be listening to is from Andrew Kintom. Andrew Kintom is the founder and executive director of Policy Nigeria. Andrew leads initiatives aimed at simplifying policies, governance for young Nigerians. Through Policy, he has built a dynamic community that fosters dialogue between youth and policymaker. He also organizes impactful events and drives initiatives that enhance civic awareness and participation. He holds a of Engineering from the University of Benin and has gained extensive experience across edtech, civic tech, agriculture, and media, applying his skills to manage projects and scale community-driven solutions. Passionate about youth leadership and governance, Andrew actively contributes to advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, particularly SDG 4, that is quality education, and SDG 16, that is peace, justice, and strong institutions. His work inspires young people with the knowledge and tools needed to influence governance and also drive meaningful societal change. That is a wonderful bio. Andrew, we are glad to have you in the meeting. Please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please carry on.
Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Kinsum. As Grace rightfully described, I am the founder slash executive director of Policy. I know I'm supposed to give a keynote today, but I think I would rather make it more of a remark, an opening remark. To just give more context, Policy is a non-profit that empowers youth to actively participate in governance. And we've been doing this for 2 years. This is our second year anniversary. And in the speed, the time range of 2 years, we've been able to do a couple of stuff. And I want to speak about the importance of youth participation in governance, especially the fact that youths hold a majority of the demography. Youth has the highest demography, and it's very important that youth participate in those conversations. Hence, the reason why policy was created 2 years ago from the offshoots of the 2020 elections, and especially um, the answers movement and then the obedient movement. We saw that a lot of youths were the interest has grown, right? The interest in policy and politics has grown. But with that interest came a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and policy was just a way of it was how we are creating a community, a safe space of for youths that were interested in the political space and the policy space. We started out empowering youths with they started empowering youth with the information they needed, especially as a way to combat misinformation. But going forward, and especially now looking 2 years and above, it's like year 3 and the years ahead, we're looking at doing more, right? Empowering them with the other resources that they will need to actively participate, whether it's a training, whether it is support, community support, whether it's even to some degree financial resources, anything that would need to like um, get the ball rolling in youth participation. And when we talk about policy, especially what we do, I think a lot of people conflate politics and policy, which is not exactly the same. But for us, it's policy. Why we make it a case to be non-partisan. Um, we also want to emphasize that our goal or our work is not just in the political or the democracy sphere. Policy policies everywhere, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's security, um, whether it's even in the economy, especially I think that one resonates with a lot of people, and that's the economy. We are empowering you to participate in all the different types of policies. So no matter which sphere you work in, no matter which sphere you're interested in, policy basically is going to give you the resources to actively participate in that space. So yeah, I think that's it. This is our second year anniversary. We have a lot planned for the future going forward. I think year three is going to be our landmark year. There's a lot that we have had planned. And I hope and I pray that you guys engage with us. You can follow us on social media. You can follow us on, subscribe to our newsletters, and also join our WhatsApp community. We have a blog there which we publish opinion pieces and explainer articles to basically achieve our mission of empowering youth to actively participate in governance. So yeah, I'll keep it at that. I know that time is fast spent and we're behind. So I will just hand it over back to Grace so you can move on. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for that wonderful keynote speech. We are really happy to hear that from you. And it's quite inspiring that a young person as yourself is doing so well to simplify policy, to simplify government knowledge, to simplify everything that most youth want to stay away from nowadays. And you're making it so easy for people to actually want to be involved in the process of governance of the state. I actually did read an article that Policy did. It was really interesting. I feel like it was really geared towards the younger audience, even from the graphics, which I love, if I do say so myself, was wonderful. Once again, thank you, and we're happy to have you in our midst today. Hopefully we'll see more of you as we go on. Next, we're going to be inviting Pastor Itwa Iwodalo for his keynote speech. And I'll just briefly read out his bio so that we get a sense of who Pastor Itwa Iwodalo is. Pastor Itwa Iwodalo is a pastor, a Christian leader, an accountant, a thinker, a social reformer, and an author. He attended the prestigious King's College, Lagos. Sorry, did someone say something, please? So Itwa Iwodalo is a pastor, a Christian leader, accountant. Sorry, was somebody saying something? I thought I heard. Okay, I will just continue. Seems that that was just feedback. He attended the prestigious King's College, Lagos, the International School, University of Ibadan, and obtained a BSc Combined Honours degree in Economics and Accounting in 1982 from the University of Hull, England. He qualified as a chartered accountant in July 1986 and attended a business management course at the Harvard Business School, Boston in 2011. Pastor Itwa commenced his professional career in September 1982 as PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, and later founded Igudalo and Co., a professional public accounting firm in January 1987. In October 2004, Igudalo and Co. merged with three other firms to form SIAO/RSM Nigeria, becoming arguably the fifth largest accounting practice in Nigeria. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Taxation Nigeria. He's a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, a member of the American Society of Industrial Security, and a member of the American Institute of Management. Pastor in charge of Trinity House, a non-denominational, free-flowing international Christian worship center, powered with a vision to build leaders and destiny achievers. He is the chairman and founder of Africa Leadership Group, ALG, a group born out of passion for good governance, accountability, equitable and judicious use of both human and natural resources, and created to address the leadership dilemma on the African continent. Wow, I don't know about you, but that was some bio. I mean, Pastor Eto'o Ighodalo has done a lot of things, and not only does he have good pedigree, he gives back. He's a person who gives back. I mean, not only that, he's a believing Christian, he also founded ALG, which we have the honor of being here today. So, Pastor Eto'o Ighodalo, we are really poised to listen to your keynote speech. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to unmute. My name is Eto'o Ighodalo, and I'm really, really pleased to be here today on this 65th anniversary of Nigeria's independence from the British colonial rule. Independence legally and constitutionally from, okay, very good. Independent legally and constitutionally from the rule and the reign of the monarchy and the British colonial masters. The unfortunate thing is that I don't think we're totally and completely mentally and psychologically dependent, and we need to push the gaps a little bit and make sure that Nigeria truly becomes independent. So therefore, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, and especially the younger ones here today, I bring you greetings on this very, very significant day, and I truly, truly thank God for all the lives here represented. We have gathered to thank God and to ask Him for a new direction for ourselves, and also to ask ourselves a few of the difficult questions. What have we done with this past 65 years? How has Nigerian fared? What have we achieved? Are we quite where we're supposed to be? And what is ahead of us in the next few years? We want to engage, we want to challenge, we want to chart a new course for our nation. I would like to thank our partners, Police ZNG, and everyone who has worked tirelessly to make this event possible, especially those ALG members at the back end and the back office. We're not here. The African Leadership Group was born from a conviction that leadership matters. Leadership does really matter, and everything rises and falls on leadership. The quality of leadership, the commitment of leadership, the dedication of leadership, and the sincerity and hard work that leadership brings. Our vision is deeply intergenerational. We see leadership not as a title, but as a legacy. We understand that no single generation can fix Nigeria. It must be a baton passed and not dropped. And the baton must be passed intentionally, with clarity, with humility, with courage, and with determination. And that is why this conversation is very critical. The older generation holds lessons, scars, experience, mistakes made, battles fought, and victories won. Things that we really could have done better. Things that, with the benefit of hindsight, we could have done in a different way. And the younger generation, of which there's much more of you, there's about 70% of you, it holds the energy, the creativity, the audacity to dream new dreams and to build what has not yet been built, and to imagine what has hitherto not been imagined. We cannot ignore the terms that we're in. We must be frank with ourselves. Nigerians are poor, poorer than they imagined they would be at this time. Nigerians are disillusioned, wrestling with what some people call country hurt. Many are voting with their feet through this Japa syndrome, and a lot of our best brains are in different parts of the world. I'm not thoroughly discouraged by that, because it was the Japa syndrome that built countries like China, countries like India, countries like Pakistan, even countries like Singapore. You know, even Lee Kuan Yew was a Japa at a certain time, saw the great things in the Western world and brought it back to Singapore. However, those in position of authority soon often operate with limited connection to the realities of a majority of us. They are not connected. They are too distant and they're too far removed. And they get into power so quickly, they forget where they were coming from and get quickly used to the comfort of power and the strength of power and the luxuries of power. This gap is dangerous, but it's also an opportunity. I see resilience, I see brilliance, I see a generation that is not waiting for perfect systems, that is building solutions in tech, media, education, drama, health, social media, IT, and advocacy. A generation that knows how to dream and what to do. We cannot build a better Nigeria in our own islands. We need a bridge, a space to connect generation to generation, to learn from one another, to hold each other's hands, to engage government, and to agree even when we don't agree. Through the Nigerian Leadership Series, we will continue to create a safe space for honest dialogue, and we must continue to dialogue. We must continue to engage. We must continue to speak to one another. We must continue to have critical thinking and bold actions. There must be civic education and there must be youth training programs with the Nigerian series, which will equip young Nigerians with the tools with which to engage government, to get into government, to lead communities, to get involved, and to demand accountability. This event, Pass the Mic, is not just a talk show. It's a symbol of the handshake across generations, whose time we think has come. We really sincerely think that the time has come for generations to handshake, for there to be sustainability, for there to be plans to hand over to a fresh generation, for there to be some measure of change and difference in our society. We must speak up. Nigeria's next chapter will be written by those who dare to believe that this country is worth fighting for. And I dare say, to a very large extent, worth dying for, worth dying for, worth dying for, by those who understand and know that we cannot afford another 65 years of missed opportunity. We cannot afford another 65 years of missed opportunities. So let us not live here with those words. Let us have a commitment to build bridges, to mentor, to be mentored, to speak up, to listen, and above all, to put Nigeria first, to put Nigeria first, to put Nigeria first. One of the biggest challenges of Nigeria is a leadership that refuses to put Nigeria first and tends to put themselves ahead. I think if we all combine together, under the various bridges that you can build, under the various umbrellas that you pulled out, under the various places we can put together, and decide that Nigeria is greater than all of us, and we need a future for a great Nigeria. Nigeria will just be great again. Thank you very much for listening to me. God bless you all. Happy deliberations, happy networking, happy thinking, and may the Lord bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our president, and all our leaders, and may he continue to ensure that he puts the right leadership in place in this great country called Nigeria. God bless you all. Thank you for listening to me.
And yes, amen and amen to that, alongside with a definitely wrong round of applause. Thank you so much, Pastor Itwa, for that wonderful keynote address. You touched on a very good point, which is raising the question of whether we are truly free, and not free in the sense of whether we're still being subject to the British colony, but whether we are free from ourselves. And it seems to me that you're one of the most patriotic persons I have met, and you're not afraid to speak up about that. And that voice that you lend to this community is really powerful, and it's something that we want to sustain. So in sustenance, you cannot do that alone. The more experienced generations who have seen a lot cannot do that alone, which is why it's equally important that we double down on passing this metaphorical mic to the younger generations and letting them have that stage to be and to understand and to express themselves in order for them to stand for Nigeria. As we know, Nigeria still has hope. We definitely still have hope, and we're not ready to give up yet. Once again, thank you so much, Andrew, for that key opening speech. And Pastor Itwa, we really appreciate that. Now, moving on to the next item on the agenda would be the Pastor Mike Fireside Chat. Yes, it's one of the most anticipated lineups that we have today. We're going to be looking at the topic, Bridging the Generation, a dialogue for Nigeria's future. And for this fireside chat, we have Dr. Waziri Adio. He is the founder of Agora Policy. And we also have Sheyi Bolaji, the founder of Project EAC. I'll just be reading their bio quickly, just so we get a feel of who these people are and what we can expect from this fireside chat. So, Mr. Waziri Adio, the newspaper columnist, a policy enthusiast, and a former public official. He is also the founder of Agora Policy. He had a 5-year non-renewable stint as the executive secretary of the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, and an experience he documented in his memoir, The Arc of the Possible. He was educated at the University of Lagos, Columbia University, and Harvard University, where he earned a BSc in Mass Communication, an MSc in Journalism, and an MPA in Public Administration, respectively. At different times, he was a fellow of Nieman Foundation for Journalists and the Edwards S. Mason Fellowship in Public Policy and Management, both at Harvard University, the Africa Leadership Initiative of West Africa, ALIWA, and the African Studies Center of the University of Oxford. What a beautiful pedigree, Dr. Waziri Adio. We are really happy to have you here. And next up, we're just going to be looking at a brief introduction of who Sheyi Bolaji is. Sheyi Bolaji is an experienced communication strategist, compare quality education's champion, and TEDx speaker with a Bachelor of Arts in English language from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and a Master's in Strategic Communications from the same institution, and owns a professional diploma in education from Federal University of Education, Zaria. She was listed as a top 30 under 30 Changemaker awardee, a Nigerian shiro in the civic space, 100 Women Creating a Better Africa, and presented with the Star of Service Award at the Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship. She was also recognized as one of the 50 youths championing SDGs in Nigeria. She's also the founder of Creative Teens Corner and Creative 20s Corner, a virtual platform for adolescents and young people all over the world, where she mentors them on creative writing, public speaking, and personal development. For a better part of her life, she has been deeply concerned about issues that fall under the spectrum of social injustice, illiteracy, early child marriage, and girl-child education. This has propelled her into a number of projects, initiatives, and organizations. Sheyi has previously worked with FCE FM and Queen FM as a broadcaster in Zaria, Kaduna State. Again, another really beautiful bio. Thank you so much for being here, Sheyi Bolaji and Waziri Adio. We are really happy to have you here, and we are looking forward to you having a fireside chat, which is essentially a heart-to-heart conversation, and we get to listen. At the end of the day, we get to give our comments and opinions. And again, the topic for this fireside chat is Bridging the Generations, a dialogue for Nigeria's future with Dr. Waziri Adio and Sheyi Bolaji. Sheyi Bolaji and Dr. Waziri, you both have the floor and you can proceed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Grace, for the warm welcome. And thank you also for coordinating this. You've been doing such an amazing job. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Thank you so much. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you so much to callers for having me, and also the Africa Leadership Group for having me do this fireside chat. And congratulations on your second anniversary. And to everyone who is part of this conversation right now, happy Independence Day. And also, I would like to especially acknowledge Ms. Waziri. It's such a great honor to do this together with you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So good to have you here. You are someone who has done a lot in Nigeria, and you still continue to do a lot. And for a young person like me, I'm inspired by the work that you do. I'm sure that a lot of persons on the call are also inspired by what you do. So it's an honor to share this conversation with you on the 65th independence for Nigeria. And I know that it's good for us to reflect on how different generations can come together to drive Nigerians' development. I will just get right into that. I would speak from the young person's perspective, and of course, the older person's perspective, where we get from you. So if we would start to talk about what do you think is the current state of youth participation in Nigerian governance? If we would start with that, what do you think
Okay.
about the current state of youth participation in Nigerian governance?
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy Independence Day, everyone. Thanks for having me, and congrats to Police and the other partners for putting this together. Let me say a few things upfront before quickly addressing your question. The first thing is that I'm not Dr. Waziri Adio, please. I don't have a PhD. I don't want to be misrepresented. I don't want to be accused of claiming to be what I am not. I'm just Waziri Adio. So that's that. So before I also address the question directly, I want to say a few things up front because it's possible that we might not get to them later. The first thing is that when we look at issue of youth participation in governance or in national life, we have to put that in context. We're a youthful population or a youthful country. The median age is 18.1 years. And people under 30 constitute more than 70% of our population, right? So allowing the young people, by the way, I'm a young person myself, so don't, yeah. But allowing the young people to have the opportunity to maximize themselves, right? It's not a favor. Is a strategic imperative. It's like the same thing about saying allowing women to maximize themselves. If you have a gender that is almost like 50% of the population, right? And you are marginalizing that gender, you are not giving yourself opportunity to excel as a country. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is that we have to come to the realization that we're in this together, right? Irrespective of our experience or the advantage that we have in terms of percentages and all of that, we need everybody to be on the same page. We need everybody to come to the realization that no group, no generation can do this by themselves. And we should be committed to creating a country that works for all. Whether you are young, you are not so young, you are old, you are not. So that's in terms of that. So to go to the question that you ask, you can look at participation in governance from different lenses. One lens that I want to use is like, the demand and supply lens, right? Sometimes I fancy myself as an economist. I'm not. That's also one of the things that I confuse people about. But if you look at on the demand side, you say young people are well represented in governance, right? You see people mobilizing others. You see people making a demand, that things should be done better. you see young people who are better sensitized and more interested in what is going on and actively demanding for change. So on the demand side, there's an uptick, right? But when you look at on the supply side in terms of people who are actually in governance, either as civil servants or as elected officials, we're not doing as much as we should be doing. Recently, I was just reviewing some data, and there are two periods that stood out for me, right? Shortly before independence and after independence, you find out that most of our leaders were actually the people today that you're going to call young people, right? They were all young, right?
Yes,
But when you look at today and you look at the people who are in governance positions, right? Is not a reflection of the state of the demographics of our country. All
true.
right. You see old people, in fact, somebody like myself, if I happen to be in government, they will say I'm young. No, I'm not that particularly young. But another episode or another period you might want to look at is immediately after we transited to civil rule in 1999. A significant number of our governors were actually under 40, right?
Hmm.
Donald Duke was like 37. Samini Turaki was just a little bit over 35, right? Can you,
Yes,
Ibori was 39 going to 40. You have so many of them like that, can you imagine that happening today? Even despite that, we have a not too young to rule act, which kind of lowered the age of. So we need to do better. That's where I want to stop on this for now. If you
okay.
look at the supply side, citizens, young people are more engaged. They're not just interested in Big Brother Naija, entertainment and all those things that older people used to profile them. People are becoming more interested in what is going on. They are more aware of the number that they bring to the table. They're also beginning to ask questions.
Yes,
We need to build on that. All of us do not have to be in government, by the way.
true.
Having, an uptick on the supply side is a good thing. Whatever you do, continue to keep your own corner clean and continue to make sure that you put yourself in a position where you can create a greater impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I like that you mentioned, the demand and supply, and you talked about a number of issues that I would also have wanted to talk about, but still trying to emphasize on the question and what we're discussing about right now. I don't know if you agree with me. I agree that there is progress and there's a lot of platform for youth engagement in Nigeria. But I would say that we need to create spaces where you can influence policy decision directly. Because it looks to me like what we have is, oh, okay, it's just tokenized rather than young people being truly empowered to take up space in Nigerian governance. Are there young people who are in government? Yes, there are in Nigeria. We have that. How many do we have? Have we made progress? Yes, we've made progress. But looking at what you had said earlier, and when we take back, yes, from now, say about 50 years ago, and how that we really had young people, young people like me in governance, and looking at what we have right now. Again, every time we talk, we say, oh, give young people a seat at the table. Young people have a seat at the table, but then do we allow young people make the most use, or do we hear the voices, our voices being heard on that table? And in governance, what exactly are young people being able to do? Are we being allowed to participate as much as we can? And that opportunity, what exactly also have young people been able to make use of that, or make the most use of the opportunity that we have been given? So there's a lot around that for young people in governance. As I continue, or as we continue, I'm sure that we get to also talk more about that. So we'll just move on quickly to the next issue that we would talk about with you. as we talk about that. Now let's look at what is the frustration or what is the challenge and how can we just move on from there. From your experience, what do you think is the most frustrating aspect for young people in governance in Nigeria? Speaking as an older person, yes. I started mentioning some after you talked about, the first question that we had to look at. So, in your opinion, from your perspective, what do you think is the most frustrating aspect for young people in governance in Nigeria?
Okay, thanks again. Whether you look at the supply or the demand side, what I would think is, the most pressing or the most significant frustration for younger people. A number of them, not just one. The first one is that young people do not feel that they're being heard. Right. Yes, they organize themselves, not just online, but on offline, they make the demands, they do all of these things, but they don't think anybody's listening to them. And yes, there are younger people in governance in some spaces. But you can also ask yourself, are they really in decision-making positions? Are they in a position to move the needle in terms of, governance and policy decisions? Not necessarily so. But let's look at this way. It's not something that is peculiar to younger people, right? Is the challenge between the leadership and the citizenry in Nigeria, right? I've been writing a column since 1999, right? And I can tell you that sometimes I want to ask myself, what's the point, right? But the trick is not to get to that position, to continue to press and not to give up, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that it's not just the younger people that they are not listening to. They are not listening to anybody, right? So what we need to do is, like I said, is not to give up, to continue to press, and to also continue to understand how change happens. That it takes a lot of effort. It takes a while. So that's in terms of that. So it's not like, oh, we're not. It's a generational thing. The young people, because they are maybe some of them are just coming of age in terms of politics and governance and policy, and they believe that because they have the numerical advantage and they have the voice, and the tools, they should be listened to. It will be nice if that happens. That is not happening. And people are kind of frustrated. On one hand, you say, oh, these people are too docile, they are too passive. And when they become organized, right, you either shut them down, or you take some other, you bring the full force of the state against them, so that's on that. Even when we have lowered on
Yes.
the supply side, even when we have lowered the entry barrier, right? And even when you say things like, oh, young people and women, you don't have to pay so much, or you don't have to pay to get the forms of the parties, but there's also a high entry barrier. Campaigns cost money. How many young people, apart from those who come from, politically established families, can mobilize the resources needed to be able to compete effectively? So there are structural challenges. There are also challenges that are not peculiar. So don't take it personal. And it's good to be able to put it in perspective to say, so it's not just us, right?
Yes.
It's not a we versus them, and that's also
Yes.
the reason why we need, that intergenerational, solidarity,
True.
and
True.
to make sure that we work together to say that, there's a monster we need to slay collectively, and we need to
Absolutely.
organize, and come together to do that. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And I agree with you that it's also not just the young people's thing, it's general. I mean, a lot of people have certain frustration, or we have different challenges as it has to do with governance in Nigeria. I would also say that speaking as a young person, that one of the most frustrating aspects for young people right now, and yeah, it might be for older persons, because I agree with you, like you said, that, oh, it's not just for young people, so we shouldn't say it as, but then this is why we're having this conversation, we're having both generation. I think it's also about finding that balance between pushing for change and understanding the process as well. It's something that can be frustrating. Also, knowing that there's a slow pace of change, and we know young people have energy. We want things to happen really fast and quick, and there's so much talent and skill. We want it done in a certain way. And so when that result is not seen, and we're not seeing that as it should be immediately, young people are really frustrated about that. And that's why there are even young people who have been in governance, but they left. They felt like, oh, young people, I think that I don't belong here. I cannot. I'll give you a very quick example. There are some public servants in Nigeria that would go to the office at 10 a.m. I mean, I want to get to the office before 8 a.m. if my work time is 8 a.m. But then there's somebody who comes in at 10 a.m. and leaves the office at 2 p.m. And I'm saying that, I'm like, no, it shouldn't be done this way. I'm frustrated because this is not how it should be. This is not the kind of system that I want. If it's 8, then you should be seated before 8. If you're supposed to leave at 4 p.m., then you wait till 4 p.m. and not leave at 2. But then we continue to see issues like these, and sometimes young people are tired, which will take us to the next thing that we have. What or where do you see the greatest untapped potential for young people to influence governance in Nigeria today? Whether you see,
Okay.
or do you see, yes,
Okay, a
right,
number of things. The first thing is that, and this is what I also keep telling myself, because otherwise you just you become frustrated, and sometimes you can even become despondent, about the possibility of change in Nigeria. But you know what? That's exactly where they want you to be, right? They want you to be frustrated. They want you to give up. They want you to abandon the space to them. The space belongs to all of us.
true,
And if
I
you
agree,
exercise the option of exit, right, is a cop out. And that is exactly what they want you to do. So don't give them that opportunity. And part of it is also that to realize, like you mentioned, that there's a process, and also change has a gestation period, right? It takes a while, and for us to begin to develop the stamina and the muscles needed, for for the long haul, So that's that. In terms of spaces for opportunities, right? Um, yeah, a number of places that I've thought about. One is that, every Nigerian is a critic. All of us, can criticize from today to tomorrow. This is wrong, that is wrong,
really
and that. And criticism is cheap. Everybody can say what is wrong, right?
true.
What is in short supply is solutions,
Hmm.
right? And
Really,
solutions based on, solutions that are workable, that are original, that are fresh, right? If you are able to work in that space where you are able to bring on board something that is fresh, that is new, and you have the tools, to be able to articulate, your position, and to be able to disseminate your position, you stand a better chance of being listened to. You stand a better chance. It doesn't mean that because you've come up with an idea that is novel and groundbreaking, it doesn't mean that the uptake will be immediate, right?
true,
But when you engage with people and you speak from a position of knowledge, right?
yes,
The landscape changes, the power
hmm.
relation changes, right? That is one of the things I would tell people, is that please find a place where you are very passionate about, where you can, develop a lot of skills and knowledge, and where you can come up with, solutions, that can make a lot of difference. And now,
Yeah,
the skills and the network to be able to push that. So the
true,
idea space is one area of opportunity. The second one is,
yes.
everybody wants to engage at the federal level, which is not bad, right? You
Yeah,
even see some people who have never done, pardon me for saying this, they've never done anything in their life. They want to start at the top, right? For me, and this
that's
is
from
one of the
some.
things I deal with now, is there's a lot of space at the local level, a
Hmm,
lot of space for people to experiment, to fail and learn, and to have impact and to also build, their profile.
true.
Now we have something around local governance autonomy, right? Local government
Yes,
autonomy and all of that. And all of us, please correct me if I'm wrong. Every one of us, either we are born in a particular local government, or we live in a particular local government, or we work in a particular local government area. So please, people say all politics is local, except in Nigeria, in the way we engage with the with governance. So go local.
hmm,
Find a place in your community, in your area, where you can begin to engage. Find out who the councillors are, who the chairpersons are, the different platforms they have for engagement, and start working with them. And if you're interested in running for government, for office, yes, it's not bad to start running from House of Reps or the Senate, or to want to become president, or to want to become governor. But what is wrong with starting out to become a counselor? And you actually, the entry barrier at that level, it's quite low, or it's not as high as the other one. So, um,
right.
focusing on ideas, and we need ideas. It's a country direly in need of ideas, and engaging at the local level to
Hmm,
see how you can also, one of the things they say about local governance is that, it's supposed to serve as a school of democracy, as a school of governance. So that's where you can actually learn all these things
learn.
about what is politics about, how is government run, how do you get things
Yeah,
done in government, and all of that.
absolutely. Thank you. So for me, I was going to talk about local governance as well, but you have done justice to that, and I'll just mention a few. I was going to share a story. When I
Mm,
did the fellowship, that's the Kashmir Ibrahim Fellowship as a fellow. So I had one of my colleagues who would always say she wants to be a local government chairperson. And yes, I mean, that's where to start from. You don't have to say you want to become president, you learn that the whole process, even for me, what it has been able to demystify the whole concept of governance. I know certain things now. And if I didn't start from there, I probably would not have those knowledge, and there's certain room I wouldn't be able to work with. And I always tell younger people or younger persons around me when I get to talk to them, if I had never been admitted into that fellowship, if I didn't learn about governance, if I didn't learn about leadership in that fellowship, there are certain things I wouldn't know today. For the first time in my life, I sat in a room where they had to talk about budget, and I understood it more than ever before in my life because I saw it. I was able to pick up from somewhere. So imagine if I didn't go through that and then I was just going to start from, everybody, I am going to be a president in Nigeria. And that's where I'm going to start from. It's okay to dream big. I have very big dreams. I have that. And I encourage young people to have big dreams as well. But then life itself has different process. And like you mentioned, we can start from somewhere. You can be a counselor. You don't have to start from, you want to be a senator, you want to be a governor, you want to be a president, you want to be a vice president. So I totally agree with that. And you also talked about ideas. Young people, we have ideas flowing everywhere. Being a young person is an asset. I would always say that. And yes, there's a lot of ideas that we have, and we have to get them to work. So we'll move on quickly, just so that I don't even know how we're doing with time, but I hope that we've not spent all the time. Maybe this
No,
would
you've
be
not spent all the time at all, and I'm really enjoying the conversation. So far, we've used about 20 minutes.
okay.
If you do have anything to say, you can just chime it in briefly. Then we can start opening the floors for comments, because I see that
Okay.
the
So
comment
what?
section is going up here. So I really want to hear people's voices.
All
So I'll
right.
people
We'll
share
do
that.
that. Try to just speak on two more things very briefly. And Mr. Waziri, thank you so much for all that you've been saying. And I like that you have young people in mind, because I just kept saying true, 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 true to it. Not because forced to say through, or I want to appear like a good person because we're in this call, but because what you're saying is true. So we'll just continue next and we'll talk about there's a lot of bureaucracy in governance. And young people, we want things sharp, sharp. I'll talk about that. But I would say that what advice would you give to young people trying to make an impact despite the whole, bureaucracy that is in government, in governance? It's a lot of process. So what advice would you be, or what is the most effective way for young people to navigate government and bureaucratic process successfully? Yes.
Okay. Just also building up from what you've said. There's nothing wrong with wanting to start at the top. There's nothing wrong with wanting things sharp, sharp. And all of that. But it will also help when people understand that, and sometimes, people believe that, oh, because you have been successful in the private sector, in the media, in the academia, in the not-for-profit sector, then when you are given an assignment in the public sector, right, then you automatically be successful. Or that, once you engage with the public sector, you get the result that you want. Ordinarily, it should be so, right? But the thing is that you cannot change what you don't understand. The public sector is a different animal by itself, right? On itself. So, you want to, and you have to engage with the public sector, whether from the supply side or from the demand side, right? You have to know how, in fact, one of and this is also one of the things I try to do in my book. By the way, I'm putting a plug for my book. This by my publishers will be happy. But what I'm trying to say is that, people come in with all kind of idealism, right? And trying to get things done sharp, sharp, right? And they get into trouble. The easiest way to get into trouble in government and the easiest way not to be able to make impact, even when you are engaging government from outside, is not to understand the process. Right. And when you are engaging with government people, once they see that, they don't want to help you. They don't want to do whatever you want them to do. So they're just looking for excuses. So once they find out that they can just say, oh, you don't even know what you're talking about, right? That gives them the perfect excuse, to shut you down. So what I would say is that yes, you want to
Yeah.
engage with the bureaucracy. You have to understand how the bureaucracy works. You have to understand that government is first and foremost about processes. You have to understand those processes. Like I keep saying, you cannot change what you don't understand. So take your time to understand that, this is how they do things, right? You might think that, okay, that's a wrong way of doing things, but you have to understand it first. And by the way,
Yeah.
all of those things, they have some logic behind them. They have some rationale behind them.
I agree.
Some of those things might have, been undermined and all of that. So understanding the reason behind them, understanding the logic, understanding the process of bureaucracy will be very important. And
Yes.
that will allow you to be able to be more effective as somebody working from outside and also be more effective as somebody working from inside.
I absolutely, that's, so true. Understanding the system is very important. And I know that if we understand the system or how government works, and we are able to identify the right entry points and also build the necessary relationship, it makes the work really easy and not wanting to like, oh, it has to be done this way. Things are done in a certain way, just like you say, for certain purpose. And yes, thank you for mentioning that. And again, for having young people at heart and mentioning what matters most to us, just because of our time. And we're able to also hear from other persons on the conversation. We'd like to talk about two things together. The first one is on burnout. I mean, it's a real concern in governance, in advocacy, and just everything that we do. And how do you suggest, or how would you suggest that young people like me maintain our energy, our motivation? I mentioned earlier that sometimes we are pushed to the point of saying, oh, we don't even want to do this again. But then I always say, if we do not do it, there's going to be problem. We have to get into that. As a matter of fact, there are some young people in Nigeria who believe that, oh, young people should not go into governance, just leave it. When you go there, you would be corrupt, you would this, you would that. I'm like, if you don't get in there, nothing is going to change. You have to get in there to do something. So now, talking about burnout, how do you suggest that young people maintain our energy, our motivation, and also would now look at the partnership model? SDG
Uh,
17 is partnership, and if we do not partner, there's not so much we can achieve. But with partnership, there's so much we can have. And that's why we're even on this conversation right now, where we're having me as a young person and you as an older person talking about this. So burnout, and yes, we move to talking about partnership. Thank you.
Hi, Shay. Hi. Hi, Dr. Waziri. Thank you so much for a really fruitful conversation
No
so far.
doctor, no doctor, no doctor.
Mr.
Thank
Waziri,
you. Yeah,
maybe you're going to get your doctorate soon. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm fine.
Um, we are really enjoying this conversation. I mean, I can imagine myself.
Hello, last two. Is it just me?
No, I think it's
Okay.
from her.
Yeah, I think she wants to
I think
go
it's
into the
about time.
Q&A.
Yes.
Yeah, because we have overshot the runway. But okay, while she's, I think somebody has, okay, while she, just to quickly answer your question, the
Yes.
first thing is that, um, to develop the mindset that this is going to be for the long haul. Mandela said something, and I think Obama too also said it, that if it were easy, it would have been done.
Hmm.
So don't let us think that we're the only ones that have thought about changing Nigeria, right, or changing any society, right? And not just that, if you look at America now, for God's sake, right? So the work of changing society is going to be a work in progress, right? The
Hmm.
work will never be done. So once
Yeah.
you come from that perspective that this is going to be a kind of life commitment, and you develop the stamina of a long distance runner rather than
Yeah.
somebody who just want to sprint and just
Hmm.
get off the track. So that's that. The second thing is that you also have to come to the realization that you don't have to win every argument,
Hmm.
and you can't win all arguments anyway. And to also know when to take your win and celebrate it, and when to
Hmm.
step back and say, okay, we have made some progress. We have also made some mistakes. What can we learn from that? How do
Hmm.
we, how do we go again, right?
Yes.
Giving up is not an option.
At all.
Is their preference, is actually they will do everything to frustrate you.
Hmm.
Is for you to say we're here to continue to push for change, and we're practical enough to know that making change will take some time and will come by
Yes.
increment. And even when you have some kind of revolution, it will also come with its own contradictions, and the work of working for change
Absolutely.
will still be
Hmm.
there. So just see it as a life mission, as something that you just need to keep working at. So that's
Yes.
in terms of partnership. Yeah, I would just say that we need everybody. We need
True.
everybody, and we need to work together. There's a Yoruba saying that "Ọmọdé gbọ́n, àgbà gbọ́n la fi dálẹ̀ ìfẹ́."
I'm glad
Basically,
that I understand that because I'm Yoruba. I would have asked
okay,
for interpretation.
okay,
Thank
great.
you.
For the benefit of others, just roughly translates to is the combined wisdom of the young and the old that was used to found Ile-Ife. And Yorubas uh, in their wisdom believe that the world started in Ile-Ife. So it just tells you that as something as grand as creation, right?
I think for that, the Benin tradition also has like
Okay,
founded
fantastic.
the Ile-Ife. So it's like really,
Right.
really similar. I really
The,
hate to cut us off, but we
no, no, it's
really
fine, it's
pressed
fine, it's fine.
time.
Welcome back. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'll
Yeah,
come
I was
back.
picking up on my network just now. I have to say I was mentally chiming in to all the things that we were saying, and right now we have to bring the fireside chat to an end. Thank you so much for the lovely contributions, Mr. Waziri. And Sheyi Bolaji, you've been amazing. The talking points, the contributions have been awesome. At this point, we will not be able to receive any comments and opinions, but we will take it to the end. So if you do have anything you want to say, you can take it to the end of the event. Right now, we have to move to another agenda. Once again, please, can I get a round of applause for Mr. Waziri Adio and Sheyi Bolaji? They have
Thank
carried
you so
us so
much.
well.
Congrats and well done,
Thank you
everyone.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your presence here and sharing your knowledge. Really fruitful conversation. Now, and to the people in the chat as well. I mean, I followed through in the chat and it's a lot of energy there. So at this point, I just want to remind you, if you haven't shared this link with your friends to join into this conversation, you're not doing them any good. If you haven't even shared with your parents or your older friends or your aunties and uncles, don't waste time. Go ahead right now, take a screenshot, post it on WhatsApp, and you can post it on Twitter too, and post it on any other social media platform, post it on Instagram too, so people would know about it. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. We have the short film Screaming. Yes, the name of the short film is called A Quiet Monday. Yes, that's the name of the short film. A Quiet Monday is a social drama about the sit-at-home mandate in the southeast of Nigeria. And the film serves as a powerful reminder that when youth engage in violent disruptions through riots or election thuggery, they are primarily harming their own communities and peers. So we'll be doing a brief screening. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to start from close to the end. And we'll just get that sense from the video. That's what we're trying to highlight. So we'll give the floor now to the audiovisual crew who will help us to share the screen and then we can watch the video. Thank you so much.
Something like a Zenia, now we're going to go for Jesus. Come up for Lynn. No, but me, why I don't know on the radio. Kios, if you don't fight, I'm attack.
Unknown gunmen.
Just unknown gunmen. Come like unknown knife man.
Last time I found that land, nobody is able. Nobody working. Last time I have about police station where Babu for police.
What's up? Me, I know. You talk, I want to be from one.
And then you can't kill happen kill man.
You want the man?
Just saying you could. You know me na phone ku yari. Because if I could na fa chokan libo no long fa. And na actual new country.
To catch on. So Nigeria is good.
So for Nigeria na buffer. No go for Nigeria be do be na jo chechire no ni mi obria.
Okay, I'm not leaving my boy. I left my mother.
Mo kro mo bu no.
Boys who working. My bogolo we fancy. But the conquer the
Come no. Biko ewekwana iwe na ana m akpọ gị n'abalị a. My flight to Lagos was moved earlier than scheduled. You go can the airline as he is Zuzu Nyoko. You may go for them. You may figure for Lagos very early in the morning was a Tuesday. Now, Bona Aquamaya, Lutemaka was a Mondo, Mabu, Mananka, and wherever an age. No need bothering yourself, ne? Don't stress it. Madia William Bob and Natana Christmas, oh?
Mba, we are ready before jam game.
Okwalora. Okwalora.
Sylvia,
Okwalora.
to see me, Ike.
Okwalora.
They're a matter fashion.
Bonkwem.
This is amazing.
Okay, so briefly, I just want to mention and highlight that the sit at home is it's an order in the southeast of Nigeria where people are not allowed to leave their houses on Mondays. Every Mondays, everyone is supposed to be in their houses, and this has economic implications. For example, in places where they have big and boisterous markets, they have forced to close, so businesses have to stop. So in the East, 5 business working days is different from in the West and in the South. This has huge implications, and it's to take a lot of things from them. So if you're supposed to go to school on Monday, are you supposed to go to school? If you're supposed to go to an event on Monday, you can't. If you're supposed to travel on Monday, do you have to leave the house the night before? So it's a really twisted dynamic. And as you can see from what we saw when they left the house, the brother and the sister, the whole street was empty. It was open, it was morning, but nobody was outside. So that's what it is. And someone in the comments says the silence of the East made that's true. Let's carry on.
Begin.
Amarum.
Biko, Chijoke, Ebiki, we got no was it in my energy because here.
Was it the
Chijoke, we got one account warrior.
Who back in Nanchina Chiuno?
Yeah, what my one I come in a queen,
One, I'm not watching one.
Mana kwa ma ya taa bụ. Ịma na taa sit at home.
Mazụ na-afịa m maka na ejide ofu onye.
Onye abụrụ just onye ọbụla.
Ewe iwe maka na ejide supreme leader unu.
Ọgwa anyị na-anụ kwapụkwa maka ọdịmma Igbo niile.
Eziokwu. Onye polisi egbu n'ugwe ka mbọsị anụ onye Igbo ka ọ bụ.
Mụ na kpọrọ nwanne gị nwaanyị ka ọ bụ.
Okay. Okwu agwụgwọ gị n'ọnụ kịta ọkụ ya.
Ji hapụ obere nwa aka na-agwa gị okwu ya. Ọ na-elabilo ndị ka ya mụ.
Bịa sị ma bụgo si gị kwili.
Okay, now that is where the screening of this short film ends. And if you do have the chance to watch it from start to end, you would enjoy it even more. Again, we want to highlight why this screening is very important. It reflects not only that violence is not the answer, but it also shows that complacency towards the anyhowness or certain restrictions should not be easily accepted. And I can see the comments, the chat session is going off. A lot of people have things to say. And I just wanted to highlight again that we see the cost of enforcing the sit at home on society, the lost businesses, the loss of properties and lives. It is counterproductive. It doesn't really help our cause. And I think it guides our conversation. This is gonna really guide the conversation in the panels coming on later on. So yeah. I think that's all we have to see. So once again, I actually love this film because it has a really good quality, really great picture. And for those who are Igbo, I think you flow through. I can only understand a few bits, but yeah. Once again, thanks for availing your attention. If you haven't done so, I'm just going to mention it again. You can take a screenshot, post the link, let your people know that you're here, let your parents know, your uncles, your aunties, your mentors, your pastors, everybody should know about this important conversation that's happening right now. Okay, we are going to move on to another session of the agenda. Now we are going to move on to the panel discussion. This panel discussion has been highly anticipated because it features not one, not two, not three, but four really bright minds, really invested people in Nigeria who want to further the cause of a better Nigeria. And we will be listening to Funsho Doherty, Jumoke Akin-Taylor, Solakbe Sunuga, and Oluwabusola Fadigbe. I hope I didn't murder those names. And I will be moderated. I will find the name of the moderator and I will mention it. So briefly, I just want to the moderator is actually going to be Shalon Ibironke. Yes, he is going to be our moderator. So Shalom, if you can hear me, you can go ahead. And if you can just hear me, just signal that you can hear me. And then I will go ahead and call, and just do the brief introduction, like an introduction of the bio. Hi, Shalom. Okay, while Shalom is getting prepared, I'm just going to do a brief run through of the bios of these wonderful people that we have in our midst today. We have Funsho Doherty. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This person is a gubernatorial candidate for Lagos State in the 2023 general election and is also an accomplished professional, a leader, an active public sector reformer with a record of accomplishments and achievements spanning more than 3 decades. That's a long time. And he has many pioneering leadership roles, including serving as the founding chairman of the Pension Fund Operations Association, that's PENOP, the umbrella body for all licensed pension fund managers and custodians in Nigeria. He is also a co-founding trustee of the CFA Society Nigeria. Funsho also holds a master's in business administration, MBA from Harvard University. Is it just me or we have a lot of Harvard alums here? That's a really great lineup. He has a BSc in accounting from the University of Lagos and is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. And he's married to Dr. Orode Doherty Nee Williams, a pediatrician, public health physician, and they are blessed with 3 awesome children. That is just beautiful. This is wonderful. We have so many Harvard alums here. I'm thinking maybe I should get an MBA or something. It's really nice to know. Really, really nice. Um, Again, shalom. If you can hear me, just let me know. I know that the network today is crazy because of the rain, so it's possible that you've been thrown out, but we're happy to get you back. Now I'm going to be telling you about Jumoke Akin-Taylor. Hi, was someone saying something?
It's Shalom. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, shalom. Finally, welcome back. How are you?
Right. So, sorry. I think I have problem talking. I could see you, I could hear you, and so go on, please.
Oh, okay. I'm just running through the bios, just a brief introduction, and then you'll have the floor from there. So I'm actually at Jumoke Akin-Taylor. Jumoke Akin-Taylor is a seasoned senior project manager with over 35 years of experience leading capital construction projects across both the public and private sectors. She holds a bachelor degree in civil construction engineering technology from the University of District of Columbia and a master's degree in construction management from California State University. She served 2 terms on the board of NIDO America and was inaugural chairman of Mobilization, where she spearheaded the inauguration of several NIDO chapters in the US. And she was also one of the 2 global coordinators for Nigeria's in the Diaspora Global. She currently serves as the second vice president and chief operating officer of the Tri-Africa Empowerment Foundation, and also known as the Africa Leadership Group. That is the ALG. In addition, she's the executive director of the Rebuild Nigeria initiative, which focuses on fostering peace and national healing in Nigeria. Oh, Jumoke is also a faith-driven leader. She hosts Circles of Grace, a weekly virtual Christian gathering that inspires believers to discover and live in God's purpose. She shares her passion for storytelling through inspirational writings under the series Father's Jewel and The King's Daughter. Just beautiful. These are amazing bios. I cannot wait for this panel session to continue. And we also have Solakbe Sonuga. Yes. Just briefly, we will be getting to know more about these wonderful persons that we have in our lineup. Solakbe Sonuga is a policy development and advocacy professional, delivering governance expertise, leadership development, and devising strategies aimed at shaping the future of public service in Africa. With a background in legislative reform, youth leadership, and international development, her passion lies in bridging the gap between policy and impact. Over the years, she has worked at the intersection of governance and civic engagement, championing inclusive policies that empower young people and marginalized community. She currently serves as the director of the Legislative Mentorship Initiative, LMI, Nigeria's premium program for developing the next generation of public sector leaders. LMI trains and mentors emerging leaders from across the country, fostering a new wave of politically conscious and impact-driven professionals. Solakbe collaborates with high-level policymakers to advance legislative reforms, leads national dialogues, convenes thought leadership conversation, and facilitates international partnerships to drive sustainable development and good governance. Wow, that is, I don't know about you, but that is something. Moving on to the last one, we have Oluwabusola Fadigbe. Yes, I think I pronounced that correctly. Oluwabusola Fadigbe is a development professional with more than 6 years of experience in the charity and non-profit sector. She's the founder of Infra Spotlight, an organization dedicated to raising awareness of sustainable infrastructure development and bridging the infrastructure gap in Africa. She holds a bachelor degree BSc in international law and diplomacy from Babcock University, a bachelor's of law from the University of Birmingham, and a master's of law in international trade law. In 2015, as a student, she launched Multidesk, a political blog through which she published socio-political commentaries and articles. In 2020, she was selected as one of the 25 young Nigerians inaugurated into Bridge Fellowship, a public policy fellowship by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, and she went on to serve as the youngest member and technical assistant to the Foreign Policy and International Economic Relations Technical Working Group for Nigeria's National Development Plan from 2021 to 2025. She is passionate about sustainable development in Africa, particularly financing for development and data-driven development policies and strategies. Wow, and she's a young person. These are wonderful bios. I mean, I really cannot wait to listen in. Shalom, you have the floor. Thank you so much for being here, our delectable panelists. Shalom, you have the floor and we'll listen in. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Grace. I must plead for Grace because I'm not sure I'm half as eloquent as she is. So, Grace, you've done a very, very amazing job. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shalom. And it's a pleasure to be here off the back of very wonderful speakers. I think perhaps the most important thing, or one of the most memorable things I heard today was you cannot change what you don't understand by Mr. Waziri deal. I thought that was very important, especially with the analogy from Ife about the founding of Ife. And so that's what I hope this panel does to us to help us understand better how we can make change. So welcome, sir. I think for you've been introduced, but for a bit of icebreaker, or as a bit of icebreaker, I wish the speakers, all of them very notable faces, most notable of which should be Safunsho Doherty. You must pardon me for calling you sir, because I have to call you sir. Quite. So
actually, you don't. You don't.
Sir? No.
Actually, you don't have to.
so we're going to take 30 seconds to say something to everyone. So we go around yourself, Madam Jumoke, Madam Sholakpe, and then Mrs. Oluwabusola Fadipe. So we want to take around 30 seconds to say something just as an icebreaker. So we start with you.
Well, thank you, Shalom. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the African Leadership Group and to Polys and to all who have worked to put this together. It's a pleasure to be here today. These are very important conversations to have, and it's in fora like this where those bridges that we speak about can really be forged and then taken out and then built further. So I'm really very excited about some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Share a little bit of my own perspective, and then also learn a lot from listening to each and every one of you. So it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. Madam Jumoke, do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. Good morning from here. Good evening and happy Independence Day, everyone. And I just want to follow up on Mr. Doherty's comment that This is a call to action. This is just not another opportunity for us to talk, but for us to take tangible points from this conversation and then begin to dig ourselves out. And like you said, it is the next generation. The work is on the next generation. Most of us, we have just very few years left we have very few active years left, but we want to be able to work alongside the youths. We want to help them heal from the trauma of Nigeria. We want to share our experience and support the youth to take their rightful place as leaders of Nigeria. I think it's time for our generation to take a back seat and support the success of the youth. So I'm very excited to be here, and I thank you for inviting me. And I look forward to how we can forge alliances to make this really work for our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I heard that you're so eloquent. Madam Sholakwe, please.
Thank you very much, Shalom, and thank you to everyone on the call. Congratulations to Policy on 2 years, and congratulations to Nigeria on 65. My name is Sholakwe Shonuga, and I'm very excited to be here. Very excited about this intergenerational conversation. It will be remiss of me not to acknowledge Mr. Doherty and Madam Jumoke and every other person that has spoken today. It's been a very engaging conversation so far, and I was nodding very vehemently when Mr. Adio was speaking during the fireside chat, because he said a lot of things that I resonate with. And I hope that as we, have this panel conversation and we hear from everyone on the panel, we're able to take actionable steps forward towards achieving the Nigeria of our dreams. And hopefully it's no longer the Nigeria of our dreams in a few years, but the Nigeria that we're actually living in and, our reality. So thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Madam Shonuga. Mrs. Soluwa Busolami Fadipe. There's something you'd miss, and I'd have to add if you miss it.
Thank you so much, Shalom, and thank you so much to everyone. I really count myself lucky to be part of this conversation, but also to be a young person, because this is really a good time to be alive and to be a young person. And even though there are so many challenges that we face as young people, young Nigerians, the challenges are also good because it reminds us that as young people, we can do hard things. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share space with amazing young people, and also older people who've gone ahead of us and done remarkable things as examples of what we also can do, and we can continue in that line as well. So thank you so much.
So thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. To be clear, I think the name is Policy, like a merger of policy and Gen Z. I hope I'm correct, but I'll confirm with Andrew afterwards. To start the conversation, I think it's important to, how do we get through the door regarding? I'm just setting the ball rolling for the conversation. It's not. I'm not a panelist. I'm asking, how do we think we can identify the most accessible and impactful areas for youth to come into governance today? Because, and I like the fact that we have Sir Precious and Madam Jumoke, and then we have younger people like Mrs. Shonuga and Fadibe. So, what do you think it is? What do you think is the best entry point for young people to come into this demand for accountability or this business of nation building? Whoever wants to take it first, could go. Based on the order I have here, I could call Sir Precious.
Okay, thank you. I will share some thoughts, and I'm sure others will build on it. So I think really that the conversation is less about where is best and really more about, where each person can get engaged, right? Given their own ecosystem. I don't think one needs to sit down and think about, what is the best way of going about it. Sometimes, you just start. Right? And you start where you are and you make impact where you are and you build from there. And you start learning and then you start, you start growing from there. But generically, there are a number of different paths, right? So there is commentary. Some people start by making commentary, right? And, that is valuable, especially in the age of social media, which you couldn't have done, maybe 20 years ago, right? There's activism, which is another, shade of it. There's policy making influence. In other words, putting yourself in a position where you can influence the policies that are being made. Then there is actually serving in government, and serving, is of two types. You can serve, in appointive roles, either working with people who are appointed or being appointed yourself, if you are fortunate. And then finally, there's serving in elective office, which in many ways, some have spoken about today. And, some might argue that that is actually the pinnacle of service where you can have the most institutional impact. But wherever you choose to start the engagement, I think nothing is lost. And I think the key is to start, to learn, and to build from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Does anyone want to take it from there?
So I will chime in again, just following in that order. And I believe in servant leadership. For you to be a leader, you must learn to serve. And my advice to the youth for the entry point is to begin to serve in your community. There is a primary school that is dilapidated, that you can get a group of fellow youth corpers. They are engineers, they are carpenters, they're electricians, that you can take a project in your community and begin to build and forge those relationships on the local level. I think one of the challenges we have is no one wants to do the basic. Everyone wants to be in the Senate or, just get into governance. But your community is the best place for you to begin to influence change. And you lead by example. There are a group of young children somewhere that have nowhere to go after school. Can you gather them? Do you have skills that you can pass on to those kids? Then you build those relationships. You begin to influence your community. The people that the politicians use to wreak havoc are from our community. They have no other example to follow. So when they begin to see this kind of changes, you're also indirectly influencing them. You're bringing them into that servant leadership. You're bringing them into that ideology of building from the grassroots. And that's where I believe the entry point is. Is it visiting hospitals? Is it visiting community? I don't know. Again, public schools. There's a friend of mine that lives here in California, and we saw some pictures of public schools where the kids were sitting on the ground without a roof. And she gathered people together and raised money to go and repair those schools, got them desks. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was rallying people around. And I think that's what the youth can do. You have the population. When you start to do this, you become a force that cannot be reckoned with. And the politicians have nothing on you. Then they will begin to also engage you in this conversation. And I think it will be more difficult because you've gained the respect of your community. And then you start to build that alliance with other communities. So whether you are doing it in Lagos Island, you are doing it in Ikeja, you are doing it in Enugu, you are doing it in Kaduna, you build that coalition of change agents and community builders from the grassroots. That's what my own suggestion would be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Penny, for your thoughts. Sholakwe Oluwabusalami.
So I completely agree with everything that Madam Jumoke and Mr. Doherty has said, and I'm sure that Busola would agree with me as well, or with all of them as well. And I think that for young people, I think there's like three major things that I'm going to say about this. The first one is whatever it is that is worth doing at all is worth doing well. That's something that my parents always told me when I was growing up. And sometimes when I was growing up, it would be really annoying when they would send me back, oh, go back and do this. You didn't do it properly. But whatever is actually worth doing at all is worth doing well. And it kind of instills a spirit of excellence in you. And when you are excellent at whatever it is that you're doing, no matter the field that you're working in, whether you're working in governance or engineering or in the creative industry, you will be valuable wherever you find yourself. And eventually, if it is impacting the nation that you aim to achieve, then you will definitely do that if you're putting your best foot forward at all times. The second thing is create in yourself a vision for where you want to go. A lot of people have said that sometimes you have to start small, and that's definitely the case. However, if you want to run for office or you want to, be instrumental in the public sector or or something, or you want to, be a philanthropist, whatever it is that you want to do, have a clear vision for it and then start to take steps towards that vision. Because if you wake up and you're frustrated about Nigeria and you say, oh, I don't like the way the country is going, but you don't have a clear vision on how you want to contribute to the sustainability and the future of the country, I believe that you just sit down, you'd be confused, you'd complain, you'll murmur, but then what are you actually doing to solve the problem? The third thing that I would say about this is volunteer, and also tied to putting your best foot forward. In my career or in my line of work, I started, I think my first big girl job was in the National Assembly. I served in the National Assembly, and I did a lot of grunt work. I did a lot of work that a lot of people didn't want to do. I would walk from one edge of the National Assembly to the other. And if you're familiar with the building, you know that that's like more than 10K steps every single day. I would do a lot of admin work. I would come in when people didn't want to come in. But however, a lot of that work paid off. And by the grace of God, after I served, a few months after that, I was appointed as the youngest legislative aide in the office of the Speaker. So don't feel too big to do the grunt work. Don't feel too big to volunteer. Don't feel too big to do the things that nobody wants to do. It's still kind of connected to, instilling yourself a spirit of excellence, doing a lot of work and being able to put your best foot forward at all times. And if perhaps you're not serving at the National Assembly or anything like that, then volunteer. Volunteer, also very tied to what Madam Jumoke was saying. Find community within your spheres of influence and volunteer to make the community a better place. Join groups, and if there are no groups, create the groups, and definitely make a change wherever you are. Thank you. I've said a lot.
I think that makes so much sense. Thank you so much, because it ties back to what Madam Jumoke said about servant leadership. You're reiterating the same point about the need for service, a heart of service over ego that doesn't want to learn from the ground. In building a case, though, in building a case, because Sir Funsho said you have to, you could start with commentary, and that social media has enhanced the possibility of social commentary these days. In building a case for yourself as a person demanding for accountability, how can we move from mere opinions on like microblogging sites like Twitter, where you have, I think, 240 words, to evidence-based advocacy? How can we do that? Because essentially, and I'm throwing this at you specifically, sir, Sir Fisher and Oluwabusola, because of the great thing you did with Infra Spotlight and the great thing you did with holding Lagos State government accountable, where you brought out budgets we did not even know we could see without an FOI. So how do we shift from making mere opinions to replicating what you did with Lagos State government and what you've done with Infra Spotlight, Oluwabusola? So, sir, you could go first.
Okay. So again, just to be clear, I'm not suggesting that you must go and start from one and then work your way through the others. I mean, I think that different people will take different paths, and it just depends on where you have a natural affinity. Some people, can create very compelling content and within a short space of time become very influential in that space. And that is their area, that's their calling. Someone else may be in the community, serving meals in the community or whatever it is. That's their own space and they should do that. And I think all of these things are needed and we need to bring them all to the table and sort of understand the value of all of them. Now, to the question that you asked about, the work that we did. I mean, look, So I've been commenting on social issues, maybe long before my involvement in partisan, politics. Maybe going back maybe 12 years or so, in terms of published articles in the public space. But one of the things that you find is that there's a lot of rhetoric, there's a lot of allegations or opinions that are thrown out, either as fact or irrefutable truths that are really not backed up by evidence. And this was just one of those areas where there was data that we could do research on that was in the public domain. It was there, it was published, but people were not paying attention to it. And we just took it and we did some work with it, and then we put it in a way that people found very engaging and gave them an insight actually into the operations of government, which they did not have. And and just because of that, that became sort of very viral, because it's not something that people are used to articles that complain or that lambast, but when you have something that is fact-based, backed with evidence, analytical sort of rigor, and irrefutable, it just speaks for itself. And when you do that, not only is it compelling for people, but those who are responsible and those who you want to hold accountable have to take notice of it, and they have to respond to it, right? So you find that at the time, normally government would just ignore some of these things that you put out. But, you saw about 3 or 4 different agencies of government come out to try and actually, engage with it. And so, because, it was not something that, it was not it clearly was not just hot air, right? And so that's the good side of it. The bad side of it is that it also has shall we say, its effects, right? Because the data from which we did that work, if you go to the place where we got the data, you will now not see any of that data anymore, right? So they've taken that data away, right? So, but it tells you that you are influencing the actions of government, and that they are paying attention, and from there, you can build other causes of action.
Thank you very much, sir. Oluwabusolami, please. And by the way, what you did not say that I said I was going to say, if you didn't say it, is that Oluwabusolami had first class twice. I thought that was mission impossible. So please speak.
Twice, apparently, because she's putting up 3 fingers.
Wow. Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. I think it was a setting, but thank you so much, Shalom. And yes, I did have a first class 3 times. So to your question, let me start by saying that one of the missing link in our governance as a country is we do not have enough evidence-based policy interventions. And let's even look at it at the very basic. By next year, 2026, it would be 20 years since we've had a census as a country. So it begs the question, like, how are we planning for the nation? How are we planning to deliver public goods to the country if we do not even have accurate data? And also the question on how do we validate what course of policy action to take? And so in the work that I do with InfraSpotlight, it's uncovering the data and using data tech, to highlight specific issues around our infrastructure, to spot out the key issues where we should be focusing on. For example, how are we allocating our budgets to certain infrastructure issues? So what's the data backing this? And we often do this through a variety of methods, from looking at institutional data when they are available. That's also another challenge where you're trying to understand why there is a persistent issue or why the government has decided to, introduce a new policy or introduce a new project or even allocate funding in a certain way, but the data isn't available. And in engaging public office holders, sometimes they are evasive with information. So the data sometimes isn't even available. And when it's available, we question how much reliance, how much are we relying on this data? And one of the things that I would say that we need to do more as a country is ensuring that our policy actions, they are backed by evidence. So recently we were looking into the state of primary healthcare in Nigeria, and we had to do on the ground interviews with people on the ground. And we also had to look at different data available from different government sources, but also look at institutional sources. We had an assumption, but we just did not want to run with that assumption. We wanted to be sure that our assumptions are correct. And this is something that I believe that we can do more, even as young people, as people who are very interested in the civic space. There is a lot of information out there. Sometimes the information are not even correct. Recently, there was a press release by a public office holder, which I would not mention, and there were typos and also wrong facts on that press release. So how do you approve a press release from your office as a public office holder? How do you help us as citizens to follow up? And the truth is that when data is available, it's easier to hold government accountable. It's easier to say XYZ amount of money has been budgeted for primary schools, for example, in this local government, this hasn't been delivered. But when the information is not available, when public office holders withhold that information, or when we just do not have access to that information, then it becomes difficult to hold government accountable. And so if there is something that I think more civic actors or people interested in civic space should do more is data, finding data, and also researching gaps. So it also goes back to how do we even test that policy is working? So if you've introduced the policy, how do we know that it's working, it's achieving the purpose that you've implemented or you've passed that policy? And also if there are implementation gaps, and all of these go back to data evidence. So we need to do more. How does the governor wake up in the morning and say we need to build an airport? Is there data that supports that this is what we need as a state, or should we be investing money into something else? So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, I think that was very, very, very great. That was very great. I was just nodding my head because I was saying things I could do better personally. I'm going to throw this at Sholakbe, the one who walked 10,000 steps in the National Assembly. What do you think are 3 non-negotiable skills that young people must have to be taken seriously at the policy table? What do you think from your experience?
So 3 non-negotiable skills. I feel like maybe there aren't specific non-negotiable skills that we must all have. It really depends. It depends on the space that you're in. It depends on the kind of decisions that you have to take. It depends on, the kind of work environment. But from my perspective, coming from the policy governance angle, and that's what I will speak a lot on because that's what I have a lot of experience on. The first thing is your communication skills. Communication is very important when you're interacting with lawmakers or you're interacting with policy actors. And I would even say, even if you're in the private sector, communication is very important because how you pass your message across as a young person matters. In a country like Nigeria, where culture and religion is important, we need to understand our landscape. And so if I have a fantastic idea or you have a fantastic idea, the way I pass my message across to perhaps somebody that is 30 years older than I am or 50 years older than I am, that is kind of my supervisor, as a lawmaker, as a stakeholder in something that I want to do, isn't the same way I would pass a message across to somebody that is my age mate. And it's not because I don't see myself as a valuable person on the table, or it's not because I'm on the table now and I feel like, I have all the great ideas, but we have to understand the place of culture and the place of tradition in a lot of these things. And the way you communicate would determine how a lot of people receive what you are passing across. And so if you don't communicate properly, perhaps before you even put forward your suggestion or you put forward your fantastic idea, it could already be taken as a bad thing and no one even listens to you just because of the way you've, carried yourself. The second thing is that I would very much agree with Busola on the fact that we really, really need to take the evidence-based, research and evidence-based policy very seriously. And the place of data really, really shouldn't be overemphasized. And so a skill that I like to tell a lot of people, a lot of young people to have when they're coming into the space is thought leadership. So read a lot. Listen to people when they speak. That's thought leaders and giants in the space, because no matter how much you've learned, you really cannot know it all. There's always something new to be learned every day. So be a lifelong learner. Read, listen to TED Talks, listen to people speak, listen to, things like this, and make sure that you are always making sure that you are learning one thing or the other. And then the last thing is resilience. I would say that resilience is definitely a skill that you should learn and that you should have. Nigeria is not easy at the moment. It is easy in Jesus' name, but Nigeria, is really showing us shaky. And I know everybody, we're talking a lot about mental health, protect your mental health, but also engage and be resilient in your engagement. They're going to shut the door. Nobody gives up power like just willy-nilly like that. No one says, oh, you want power, come and have it. Nobody's going to do that, So you have to keep knocking at the doors. They say that we've made space for you at the table, but like it's just a little corner. Sit at the table, but then still push a little bit, keep pushing a little bit, and then one day we'll get there. But we're not going to get there if we're not resilient anyways. So that's the last skill I would say. It's a non-negotiable for every single one of us.
Thank you so much. Madam Timoke, I think I'll throw it at you, but this time around, scoping it down into 3 skills. For example, for you to tell us what you think, how important you think they are to being taken seriously. Fiscal analysis, legislative drafting, coalition building. I think that piggybacks to SDG 17, collaboration for the goals, right? And so how important do you think these are for young people to be taken seriously in the business of policymaking or accountability?
So just following up on that, I think, and following up on what Sholakbe has said in relation to this also, is organizational skills. We teach project management at our School of Leadership and Governance, and I tell everyone that it is the most important skill set that you need because it helps you see the end from the beginning. And then step by step of how you're going to get to that deliverable that you have set. Planning and intentionality. Shalakwe said something about resilience. You cannot be resilient if you don't know where you are trying to get to and how you are trying to get there. It becomes frustrating because it's almost like you're beating the wind aimlessly. So it's very important for you to chart the course. This is where I need to get to, when I need to get there, and how I need to get there. And also be flexible, adapt to change. Change will come. There's something that is constant in life, is change. The best laid out plan are never the best well laid out plan. So always be willing to change. Be intentional with everything that you're doing. And one of the things that worry me the most about us Nigerians, we are the most intelligent, most sophisticated, that we don't have time for the basics. We do not have time to put effort into the foundation on anything that we're doing. We see that we just want the skyscraper and the foundation is not seen. So we don't put effort into the foundation. And so this is what I always appeal to everyone. Be strategic in everything that you're doing. Lay your foundation, build a strong foundation. It's not going to be seen, but it's what is going to uphold whatever it is that you're trying to do. In my experience in this space, that is what I see. People are so quick; they want the results. They want to see that shiny skyscraper and don't understand the effort that needs to go into the foundation that is going to uphold that skyscraper. So it's that organizational skill and then understanding teamwork. We can't be I. There is no I in nation building. It has to be we. One of the gospels, and I use the word, the gospel I preach is if you go into this for yourself, you are going to suffer for yourself. But if you go in with the communal benefit, that you're doing this for communal benefit, you will benefit as a person. And putting self benefit before communal good is one of the biggest challenges and the problems that faces the nation. So it's having that change in mindset that communal good is going to indirectly benefit me. And if we start to see that, and kind of put ourselves, I'm not saying compromise yourself or be totally selfless, but put the good of the community, knowing that you're going to benefit as a result of that is also very important. We're very self-centered and self-serving people. Accountability is easy. Stay the course. You write letters to these lawmakers, you wear them down, follow up with another follow-up, follow up with another follow-up until they give the information that you're requesting. Budget publishes some fiscal policies or accounts. Center for International Center for Fiscal Responsibility and Accountability, they also have this data, is also not giving up. Whatever information you have, post that this is the information I have, verify. You don't need, if they are not going to give you all the information, this is what I have right now, and you put it, again, your disclosure, be very transparent, be open, don't make up any information. This is what I have. I need you to verify if this is true or not. And if they did not verify, I will take your silence as acceptance of this fact. I think that is one way to start getting the lawmakers to be accountable. Call them out on it too. If a lawmaker, there's spelling errors on their press release, highlight what those spelling errors are and repost. This is it. You have that we have that responsibility to do that. It's not they would terrorize, they would try to intimidate. But how can 1 million people intimidate 220 million others? That's something we have to continue to understand, that we have the numbers, we are stronger in numbers. We haven't gotten that understanding yet, that we are stronger with our numbers than they are. So that's just my contribution. And I'm going to go off camera now, if that's okay, but I'll still be here.
Fantastic. I was going to collapse two things into one. I was going to ask Safinsho Doherty and Busalami Fadipe. I was going to ask that, how do we sustain this thing? Because she said transparency, she said teamwork. She also mentioned flexibility and selflessness, especially selflessness. It could lead to burnout at some point, because you're sacrificing a lot, sacrificing family time, sacrificing your own personal resources and all of that. So how do we ensure sustainability, and how do you measure success? How do you measure if you've been successful or not?
Is that to me, Shalom?
No, it's actually to Safinsho and then Fadipe.
Okay. So how do you measure success? Well, I mean, success, you have to start from what you set out to do, right? And that comes from having a clear idea of, where you're going. You should have a vision of what you're trying to accomplish. And it's against that vision that you can then set measurable targets, goals, and so on, milestones, etc. And then you can measure how well you're doing in relation to those. Impact in the public space is something that should be evident, or something that you should be able to see if what you're doing is having some impact, it should be evident. And it's not one measure that will apply to everybody, but if you have a good sense of what you're setting out to do, right from the beginning, actually right from the get-go, a good question to ask yourself before you even set out is, how will I know I have succeeded, right? Or how will I know I am succeeding, right? So together with setting the vision of what you want to do is setting out, how you're going to assess, your success in getting there. With respect to sustainability, I'll just say two things with respect to sustainability. First is that I think that impact and sustainability are not the same thing, right? And it's important to understand that you can have impact, significant impact, and then not sustain that, right, in the short term. And obviously, the ideal is to pursue an initiative where you have a big impact that you can continue to sustain that impact over time, right? And so in thinking about assessing whether you're being successful or not, the whole sustainability question then becomes the second level of that discussion, right? Yes, I'm having some impact. How do I translate it into long-term sustainable impact? By the way, every little bit helps. So if there's a particular initiative that you undertake that has a big impact at a point in time and moves us a little bit forward, it helps, even if it's not something that can be translated into a sustainable organization, right? But obviously the ideal that you want is a situation where, your area of intervention allows you to have an impact and allows you to have the sustainability of that impact on an ongoing way, in a way that you're learning from what you're doing and ensuring that that impact continues.
Thank you so much, sir. Oluwabusalam.
Okay, I'll say this very quickly, and I think that impact is very issue specific. The impact that you'll be looking for will be different. So it could be behavioral change, it could be institutional change, it could also be policy being passed or policy being implemented. And something that I want to highlight is that some causes are not also meant to last forever. Some causes, some initiatives can be time-based. For example, we have the SDGs ending in 2030. It might mean that there might be something else that would take over. So sometimes you've achieved the mission and that needs to end and you don't need to sustain anything. But there'll be times where you need to just keep going. And so let me give an example of like a change. In 2019, former president, late president Buhari, he passed the Disability Rights Act. And even though there are still implementation gaps across the country, passing that act was a turning point for disability representation and inclusion in Nigeria. That's one level of impact. So it would depend on the issue. But on the question of sustaining the momentum, and I want to speak as a young person who is leading an organization, I would advise that you also build structure around whatever you're doing, because that would enable you to stay on course. Something that I have learned in my own personal journey of building a civic organization is having a board of trustees. So that's like a sounding board. So I'm not just, because as a young person, you always have ideas and sometimes you're not sustain or compounding efforts. You're basically spreading your effort across different things. So one of the things having a board of trustees has done for InfraSpotlight is they keep us on track. They ensure that whatever program projects that we are doing is in line with our mission. And also we set KPIs, we ensure that we are designing programs based on, particular KPIs that we can test over time to say, year one, year two, this is what we've achieved. So I would say that sustaining momentum, you also need to build adequate structure. And just like Madam Jumoke earlier said, project management, that this is really where it comes to play. So you need, otherwise you'll be working based on vibes. And sometimes you would get tired, you would feel the burnout. So I would say that build structures and also make up your mind that change is going to take a long time. It can take a long time, but also don't feel bad if something has to end. You can't achieve a goal. You can't have a timeline. I was working on a cause a few years ago where the plan was to get 30,000 out of school children in school in 5 years. Once that target has been met, it's either you want to extend it or you tell yourself, like, we've met this target. There are now 30,000 students consistently receiving education, and that's the end of the cause. So I would say not every cause needs to be sustained or go beyond its timeline.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. From the comments, we've had Eileen ACM say, fantastic insights. Sholakwe, communication style will make or mar your ideas, how far your ideas go. Someone else has said, I've loved that. That's showing us shady. So I'm encouraging people in the comments to share their thoughts, questions on everything we've been discussing so far. I'm going to ask Madam Jumoke and Safunsho, what do you think the older generation are not yet doing that they should be doing to contribute to perhaps enabling young people to come forward, young people to contribute? And I'm going to ask Sholakwe and Oluwabu Salami to tell us what they think the young people are not yet doing, because
Hi,
maybe we're not taking
Shalom.
10,000 steps.
Hi. I know you are guessing what I want to say, but that's not what I'm going to say. I'm just letting us know that we have just 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to round up any speeches that we have. If we have time, I don't know if we do have enough time. We'd like to hear one or two persons from the audiences just give us their comments. No questions, just comments for 30 seconds or less so we can wrap up. We've been here for 2 hours and 30 minutes. And I wish we could stay for longer than this, but sadly we have to stick to the agenda. So I'll just let you carry on. We have just 5 minutes, then two persons talk for 30 seconds or less. Thank you.
All right, so is it okay if we take the comment on what they think their generations can do? That's to you, Grace.
Sorry, what did you say?
The comments on what the older people think their generation are not doing yet that they can do better, and what the younger people think their generation can do better. Is it okay if we take that while waiting for the questions? Oh, there's a question. Yes. Yeah. Go on.
Okay. It's fine. I think you can take that since you're moderating the session. Then when you're done with the session, and I'll just segue into the other part of the agenda. Yeah.
Right, thanks. So, sir, to Safunsho, there's a question for you in the comment box. In addressing past mistakes, to shape the future effectively, we must learn from the past. What is one major mistake you, as an experienced leader, believe your generation made that you want to actively help the youth avoid or correct today? Because of time, I'm reading the second question for Auntie Jumoke. Many young Nigerians are skeptical of the older generation's political legacy. How can we, the youth, build necessary trust with experienced leaders to trust, and to truly collaborate rather than just be seen as beneficiaries of their goodwill? That is to Auntie Jumoke. Safi, do you want to go first?
Thank you. Please, I missed the first part of that question. If you don't mind taking it again for me, please.
All right, about very, very fast because of time. So the question is this. Many young Nigerians are skeptical of the older generation's political legacy. How can we, the youth, build the necessary trust with experienced leaders to truly collaborate rather than just be seen as beneficiaries of their goodwill?
So I think, yes, I got that. I think first and foremost, you have to identify your tribe. And when I mean tribe, I mean those that share the same values with you, those that have your I would say your scale of maybe responsible, ethical, and accountable leadership qualities, those that you can emulate, that you're comfortable with, that align with your values. And they're few, but they're there. There are a lot of them, Well, they're not few. There are a lot of them. So you need to find them. The unfortunate thing is the bad leaders that are more outspoken. They are the ones that are out there. The good ones tend to be more silent. So I think it's the responsibility of the youth to fish out those leaders that they can emulate and then work with them. We have a mentorship program. We have the Itu Olajide Ighodalo mentorship program at School of Leadership. And there are a lot of other organizations that have those kind of leadership programs. Identify them, get involved, but also, most importantly, decide what it is that you want from that relationship. It is not so much what they're going to give you. It's a two-way street. What you are also going to get from that relationship. I think once you identify that, it would be a lot easier for you to collaborate. And be clear, honesty and transparent communication is also very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, man. Safusho, sir.
So I think for me, the most important thing for us as a nation going forward is participation and active engagement in the political process, right? And I think that, if the past generations have not delivered what is expected of them, it's not just the leadership, but it's also been the followership to some extent. And I think that that remains the main challenge for the youth today, and more so because of the numbers that we're speaking about. When people say that the median age is 18, that means 1/2 of us is 18 or less. That's 100 million people. So it's important to keep that in perspective. Now, I just want to use this to touch on one thing that's come up repeatedly. I've often heard the word allow in the course of this discussion. With the incumbents should allow the youth. The leaders should allow the youth. I don't think this is about allow. I don't think it's about allow. I think the power is in the hands of the youth. There's a part of the Bible where it says that, Pastor Ichua can help us with this, but it says that, if the heir does not know that it is the heir, right? And there's no difference between the heir and the slave, right? Right. And this is to say that, the power actually lies in the hands of the youth. It's not for anybody to allow you to do anything. It's for you to harness what is yours and use it. And people will have to go along with you because the country is a young country. We are the minority, right? We are the minority.
Thank you so much, sir. In 30 seconds, Oluwabu Salami and Sholakpe, what do you think the young people are not doing well enough? 30 seconds. Grace, I'm so sorry. 30 seconds.
I think a lot has been said already. Because I have 30 seconds, I would say that the young people aren't engaging enough and they're not educating themselves enough. There's so much that we can do in terms of accountability. There's so much that we can do in terms of advocacy and building movements to make change. If we know our rights, we can seize them. If we don't know our rights, we can't seize them. I'm going to plug the Legislative Mentorship Initiative. That's the organization that I lead. The Legislative Mentorship Initiative trains and mentors young people that are interested in public service and politics. And right now, applications are open for the next cohort. So if you want to get into politics and if you want to learn a lot about how the governance system works, you can apply to be a part of the Legislative Mentorship Initiative. And even if you're not selected, because we can't select everyone, there's so many ways that you can learn about how the machinery of government works. If you don't know how it works, you don't know when people are messing it up. If you learn, you're able to hold people accountable. Thank you. 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. Oluwabu Salami, 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds, I would say we need to build more partnerships, more collaboration. Regardless of whatever you're doing as a young person, you can build alliances. We need to stop building in silos. We need to stop working in isolation. Let's find ways to, band together. We can share ideas, we can exchange knowledge, and we can, collaboratively solve problems. Like there are wicked problems confronting our country, so we can find solutions, like brainstorm and bring together the strength of our respective organizations or initiatives or whatever we are doing. So that would be something I think young people can do more.
Thank you so much. Grace, I'm so sorry for taking all of our time. Over to you.
No problem at all. Thank you so much, Shalom, and a hearty thanks to the panelists. When I tell you this is one of the best panel sessions I've had, I'm not even bluffing. I'm not even saying it to say it. But this is one of the best panelist sessions I've had. The lineup of the speakers, top notch. The thoughts, the richness of the thoughts was just hitting all the right pain points. And yeah, there's so much to say, but I don't have that much time. Once again, thank you so much for availing your time, your knowledge, your experiences, and your wealth of experiences still. Thanks a lot. So now we're moving on to the next part of our agenda, which is basically simple. We're very close to the end of this event. I'm sharing something on the group now, not the group, the chat. I'm sharing a wait list and I'm sharing a picture that you can scan. So what do we have here? We are launching a series of ALG and NLS civic education series. Also with youth leadership training programs, there's a wait list for those who are interested. You should be interested because it's really good. And there's also it's something for everyone. So everyone who signs up within the next 24 hours, that's within the next 24 hours, will receive the first resource from ALG/NLS New Known Your Rights series. It's a 6-page quick guide to knowing your rights. It covers things like rights under the Nigerian Constitution, what to do if you are arrested, emergency response steps, and contacts for legal aid and protection. So everybody should have it, whether you are young, old, whether you already know what to do. It's always good to have a refresher. And for those that don't have it, you want to send them that link to be on the wait list. In the next 24 hours, they will get it. So if you just go straight to the chat for everyone, you'll see the link there. You also see a picture and you can scan that picture. It will take you to the link if that's what you prefer. So once again, please go ahead and sign up. Everyone, it is with much joy in my heart that I say that we have come to the end of this event. Although it's not a physical event, but it does feel like it. We've gone through it from the opening remarks to the keynote speech to the heart-touching video we saw of Sumi, to the fireside chat, the film screening that we saw, and the panel session that was the cherry on top of the cake. This has been nothing short of a transformational dialogue. It shouldn't stop here. This wouldn't stop here. So, which is again why you have to join that wait list. And so when we have your information, we'll be able to send you more information that you should know. So thank you everyone. Once again, I'm so grateful that this is coming to an end. My name again is Grace Obaze, and I'm so proud to be your host for today. A brief thank you, a massive thank you to the organizers of this occasion. We have Pastor Itwa Igodalo, we have Andrew from Police. Thank you so much, Choma Opiokolo. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Faye. You are amazing. All the panelists, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And for closing remarks, yeah. Hi.
Okay, continue. Continue.
Okay. For closing remarks, I'm going to be opening the floor to Andrew. He is the co-founder and executive director of Policy Team, and he'll be giving the closing remarks. But thank you, Andrew. You have the floor.
Hi, so I can see people already leaving. I'll just implore you to stay a little bit. We have a call to action we want to share after my remarks. I just want to use the opportunity to thank everyone that participated, both all the speakers, all the amazing speakers from the panel session to the fireside chat we had. And I know we've taken a lot of the time, but we're really grateful that you decided to spend Independence Day with us. And we hope, I think we've done a good job. We just hope that it's been worth your time. You found the conversations informative and inspiring. And the call to action I would say here is that you should actually follow us on social media, follow Policy on social media. We organize events such as this. And just borrow the words of Mr. Waziri Adio when he was talking about the supply and the demand side. I think in terms of the supply, we are working very, very hard to create that supply of informed and engaged citizenry. In as much as it has increased in the past few years, I think there's still a lot more to be done in the supply side in terms of educating and empowering the people that want to participate. There's room for way more participation, and there's also room to quantify those that participate in. And policy is doing that. So you can join us on the journey. We are always open to collaboration. I think the collaboration, this speaks for itself, the collaboration with African Leadership Group. We're open to new ideas, we're open to volunteers. The first step is following us on social media and also engaging with us across all platforms, subscribing to our emails newsletter. Also, I think I need to mention, please do the same for African Leadership Group. Like they have mentioned, they're doing amazing work across board. Yes, so I guess that's it. You can reach me personally at andrew@policy.ng. Really looking forward to more engagements, right? More engagements, more collaborations, and I hope that we have inspired you in some way to like fight for Nigeria and actively participate, not just voting, but advocacy, holding your government accountable, and even, if possible, directly participating by contesting for office. So yes, that's it. I would then proceed to share the call to action. So like Grace shared, I'm trying to pick my words carefully. In remembrance of Somi, we have another video we'd like to share. It's a video that basically is a call to action, and I thought it's wise to also share that. So before you go, just take 20 seconds to listen to this. Let me share that now.
Dreaming of a new Nigeria, or perhaps we have decided to relive past glory. I want a Nigeria founded on justice and unapologetic integrity.
Okay, so I guess that's it. So yes, thank you very much. I think there's a small issue with the video, but I guess that would have to suffice. So yes, thank you very much. Grace, let me hand over back to you so you can just do the goodbyes.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for showing us that last video of Somi. She's no longer with us, but we dearly miss her. Somi was a friend to a lot of persons, was also an advocate. She spoke with her voice. She was fearless, she was bold, and she was unapologetic about her beliefs and her convictions. And we all want to be like Somi. We all want to stand for justice, and we pray that the investigation by the police is carried out thoroughly, and those who are guilty in this will be brought to justice. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, once again. As we remember Somi, let's continue to be valiant people who are fighting with our voices and always being present. Once again, thank you. I won't stop saying thank you because somebody is saying this is what's for a while. Yes, it is. And mind you, there's going to be so much more coming your way. So if you're not following Policy, if you're not following ALG, go ahead and do that. Go on Instagram, do that. There's so much more events that are coming up. We have really good lineup of speakers, really good events, really good activities that you'd want to be part of. And don't forget to reach out to us if you have any questions. But that will be all for today. Thank you so much, everybody, and good night. Andrew, you can cue the music. Bye.
Okay, good night. Let me play music, going away music. Da, da, da.